Hello, I'm Claire Smith and welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about perfume declutters and why we find them so mesmerising. So this video has been prompted by a question that I had from Sidsel Albertson, and I've got 10 reasons why I think we find perfume declutters useful and why we want to watch them. So if you've not seen me before, I'm Claire Smith and I make videos all about perfume, perfume science, perfume history, and also just the social side of perfumery as well. So if that kind of thing interests you, then please do consider subscribing, and also please like this video if you do find this content interesting. So I'm going to start off by just talking a little bit about what I think about declutters, and then I'm going to move into the reasons why I think they're really fascinating. So from my own personal point of view, I started watching perfume YouTube back in 2019. I remember watching my first perfume declutter video and not really understanding why this person was getting rid of these fragrances. Why did this person have fragrances they didn't enjoy? At that point in my life, I'd never blind bought a fragrance and I'd never decluttered a fragrance, and I just couldn't understand it. I felt a little bit triggered by it almost. Now that I own more fragrances and I've made some serious purchasing errors, having been on YouTube for a couple of years, I really see the need for me personally to declutter my fragrance collection occasionally. Decluttering allows me to get rid of things that I just don't love. It also frees up space, and it also helps me to recoup some cash from the bad purchase decisions that I've made. It also allows me to get rid of some of the guilt that I feel from having spent that money on things I don't love. And it also allows me to learn. So it makes me think about why I don't like that fragrance, because I generally record it in a video. And that can be really useful to help me in the future to know whether I will like a fragrance or whether I won't like a fragrance in the longer term. I guess the dark side of decluttering is that some people aren't sure in their decisions. Some people are hasty, and also I think people can even end up rebuying fragrances that they've previously decluttered. I've seen that on a few channels. I also think people tend to get into a haul and declutter cycle sometimes. So what do I mean by that? I mean, people who declutter fragrances feel justified in buying new ones because they've got rid of something and they want to reward themselves for doing that. They feel justified in this purchasing decisions. So that's really what I mean by a haul declutter cycle. So whether you declutter fragrances or not, here are the 10 reasons why we all find perfume declutters a little bit mesmerising. Number one is that it's just a visual feast. Especially when you see someone's entire collection, they're doing an overhead kind of view video where they're picking out particular fragrances from their collection to declutter and justifying why. That can just be a lot of different colours, it can be a lot of different bottle shapes, and it's just very visually stimulating. It's just a very engaging thing to look at, and it's something you don't see in general in people's videos. Normally it's just one person talking to a camera with just one bottle. With a declutter video, you'll perhaps see hundreds of bottles all in one shot. Number two, declutter videos are just very information dense kinds of videos. Really, the only other video that you're going to see so much information all at once is a collection video, and that's only if someone will detail something about each fragrance. And you will get little sort of sound bites about what somebody does or doesn't like about the fragrance. It's just a very easy, digestible way of getting a lot of information in one video. Point three is really that declutters are the ultimate truth. Where else on YouTube do you see anything that's other than positive? You will see people hauling fragrances, you will see people doing top 10s, you will see people doing the best fragrances, the fragrances of their lives. And ultimately, a declutter video is the complete polar opposite of that, and it's unusual. You don't often see negativity on perfume YouTube. And that can be refreshing to the viewer because ultimately that gives them information that could be useful for them. Declutter videos are just a really great way of people cutting through the hype with fragrances. And they are very much like an empties video in a way, because you get a very considered opinion on a fragrance after someone has owned it for a period of time, has worn it extensively and has decided they don't enjoy it, which you don't get in a haul video. Point four is that the viewer can gain viewpoint positioning from declutter videos. What do I mean by that? I mean that a viewer can make a judgment as to how well a person in a video aligns with their own taste from what they're saying about fragrances that they're decluttering. and which fragrances they're decluttering. So that can really help a viewer to judge how useful other information this person gives them in other videos, and can really help the viewer to understand how much or how little to value that other person's opinion. Point 5 is really that it's a form of normalization. So we all have something that we have too much of in our lives. It could be clothing, it could be makeup, it could be books, or it could be fragrances. And actually seeing somebody else with lots of something can be actually quite reassuring. It sort of tells you that you're not alone in these feelings of being overwhelmed and of having too much stuff. So point 6 is really that we're just all very nosy people. I guess perfume declutters are a form of voyeurism in a way. You get to see the hidden parts of someone's perfume collection. Nobody will talk about a fragrance that they hate in a top 10 video or in their perfume favourites. It's just not going to happen. So you see all the ones that are hidden. I also think perfume declutter videos are a kind of reassuring thing to most people, because you see that other people make mistakes too, and that makes you feel better about your own mistakes. It makes you feel like it's a normal thing. Also, some people who are decluttering fragrances will list where they're selling their fragrances, so in a way the perfume declutter is like a form of TV shopping to some people, and people will seek out these videos and watch them to see whether they can then go buy these fragrances themselves, even from the person who's doing the decluttering. So point 7 is that we all like to be triggered in a way. It's sort of a very odd thing to say, but I think that people do actually like to feel annoyed by something. And I guess perfume declutters are a form of that. So you may think that somebody isn't being ruthless enough, or somebody's being too ruthless and they're being wasteful, or that they'll regret their choices. And actually they might declutter something that you truly love, and that might annoy you and might trigger you. And some people actually vocalize these things in comments, but obviously also people just unsubscribe. And I've had that myself with perfume declutter videos. I've had people really love a fragrance that I'm decluttering, and yeah, people just feel very triggered by that. But it doesn't mean it's a bad fragrance, it just means it's not one for me. And sometimes I even say that in videos, that I think that actually this is a really nice fragrance, but it's just not something that I enjoy. I guess channel owners sometimes can't win though, because to some people those emotions of being triggered are actually really enjoyable, and that's sort of what they feed off. So I guess for some people, yeah, it's about being triggered watching declutter videos. Point 8 is slightly more positive. So point 8 is that perfume declutters can be aspirational. What do I mean by that? I mean that we all want collections where we are excited to wear every single thing in our collection, where we can't decide because we are bamboozled by choice of all these amazing fragrances. We don't want collections where we have fragrances that we don't actually love, and we have ones that we're not excited to wear. And by watching a perfume declutter video, you see somebody on the journey to having a perfume collection of only things that they love. And that is really an aspirational feeling for us. That's something that we all want. The flip side of that aspirational feeling is point 9 really, and that's that watching declutters can be inspirational. They can make us think about our own collections, and they can make us think about whether we want to declutter our own collections and what we would get rid of, and actually can even prompt us to make that move, to make that decision to get rid of something, because we've seen somebody else go through that process, and that's kind of reassured us. Effectively, visualization of decluttering can be a precursor to our own decluttering. Point 10 is that overall declutters are very satisfying. We see people being mentally relieved of these fragrances. We see people creating space in their collections. We see people recouping money from the fragrances that they're getting rid of just feeling mentally lighter in having done the declutter. And that can really be very satisfying to see someone on that journey, to see someone's collection being very full to being emptier and being something more that they really enjoy and love. I guess we all know the mental benefits of getting rid of things that we don't really want in our lives, and actually seeing that in a video can make us really happy for that other person who's doing the decluttering. So those 10 points are all very well and good, but what about your own declutters at home? How are those going to be different to someone who's on YouTube? Well, I'd say that people on YouTube in general will have been gifted a few of their fragrances, and that will change their relationship with those fragrances. Okay, some people will have been gifted fragrances they truly, truly love, and others will have been gifted fragrances that they really weren't fussed about and that they don't really want in their collections. And that will mean that their declutter videos will probably include more fragrances than probably you would be decluttering at home. Another thing that changes their relationship with fragrances is that some channels will buy a fragrance immediately upon its release and will rush a video out and to review it as quickly as possible so that they get the maximum earnings from being the first person on YouTube or one of the first people on YouTube to review that fragrance. And that will also change their attitudes to why they buy fragrances. So a normal person's motivation for buying a fragrance will be because they love it or because they've heard about it and they think they will love it. Whereas a YouTuber will be looking at it from perhaps a more financial position. So they might be looking at buying a fragrance simply because they know it will contribute to their future earnings. Because if they make that review video, if they're one of the first, if they put affiliate links in, then they know that they will make that money back and more from buying and reviewing that fragrance. So again, that changes their relationship with fragrances and also their relationship with how they declutter their fragrances. So I guess what I'm saying here is that when you go through your own personal collections, you shouldn't be decluttering like a YouTuber. So don't set yourself goals for the number of fragrances you want to declutter at once. Perhaps stick to only one or two at once because you don't want to make hasty decisions. You don't want to regret what you're decluttering. I would also say have some kind of purgatory where you keep the fragrances that you're not sure about and you just think about them for a couple of weeks. You perhaps wear them a few more times and just really get to know what your opinion is of that fragrance before you finally decide whether you're keeping it or whether you're decluttering it. So thank you so much for watching. If you did find this video useful, then please press the like button and please also consider subscribing if you haven't done already. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.